Exponents. This is a review of Part 5. In today's lesson, students will review how to multiply exponents and bringing the negative exponent down. Doing what? Bringing the negative exponent down. Very good. So yesterday, we learned about how to multiply exponents with coefficients. And we learned that when you have terms that you are multiplying, first you have to multiply the coefficients and then you have to add the exponents. You have to do what? Multiply the coefficients and then add the exponents. Okay, but we need to clarify something from yesterday, and that is, read this with me. When multiplying exponents, bring the negative exponent, where do you think you're going to bring it? Down. Negative and up, bring it down. Okay. But what's different is that you're going to keep the coefficient at the top. Okay? So keep the coefficient at the top, and I think yesterday in our examples we were bringing it down, but that was incorrect. Okay? So let me show you what I mean. Okay? When you have 2x to the power of negative 4 times 6x to the power of 2. Well, the first thing you have to do is multiply the coefficients. What do you have to do first? Multiply the coefficients. The coefficients are the red numbers. Okay? So what is 2 times 6? 2 times 6 is what? 2 times 6 is 12. Very good. Now we're going to add the exponents. And the exponents are now in black. They're not in green. They're in black. So you put a little addition sign between the powers, and it's negative 4 plus 2. Negative 4 plus 2. Well, different signs subtract, right? Negative 4 and positive 2. So you're going to say, what's 4 take away 2? Okay, 4 minus 2 is 2, but keep the sign of the bigger number. So it's negative. So it's going to be, keep your x, because that's your base. It's going to be x to the power of negative 2. So, do you have a negative exponent here? Okay. It says if it's negative and up, bring it down, but you're going to keep the coefficient at the top. Normally when we bring it down, don't we put it under the number 1? Under the number what? Under the number 1. But this time, we already have a number. What is the number? What's the coefficient? The coefficient is 12. So, when you bring it down, okay, that means that you're going to keep the 12 at the top, okay? The 12 stays at the top. So now it's going to be, the answer will be 12 over, what do you think? X to the power of, it was negative 2, but we brought it down to make it positive. So now it's 12 over x squared, or x to the power of 2. So this is different because we're no longer putting it under the number 1. We're going to put it under the coefficient that we found when we multiplied. Okay? So now we're going to do some examples that show you when you are multiplying these exponents. You're going to end up with negative exponents all today. Okay? They're all going to be negative. And when you have a negative exponent, you're going to bring it down, but you're going to keep the coefficient at the top. So you're going to bring it down, but keep the number at the top. You're no longer going to use the number 1 for these. So let's go ahead and try these together. Read this with me. 6x to the power of negative 3 times 2x to the power of 1. Okay, so the first step is, what is this? Multiply coefficients. Okay, so we're going to say 6 times 2. All right, well, we know from the last example that 6 times 2 is 12. Then we're going to add the exponents. That's step number 2, add exponents. So we have a negative 3, and I'm going to put a little positive sign. Okay, negative 3 plus 1. Well, negative 3 plus 1, different signs subtract, you're going to be subtracting. Although it says to add exponents, when you have different signs, you always subtract. So what is 3 take away 1? It's 2. And what's the sign of the bigger number? The bigger number is 3, and it's negative. So again, you're going to get x to the power of negative 2. Remember what that is? Do you have to rewrite this as a fraction? Is there a negative exponent? Yes. So you're going to bring it down, but you're going to leave the 12 on the top. On the top. No longer going to use 1. So when you bring it down, it becomes x to the power of, it was negative 2, now it's going to be positive 2. And when we simplify it, we just write it as 12 divided by x squared. Okay, are we good? All right. So let's try the next one. Remember, first you have to multiply coefficients. What do you have to do first? Multiply coefficients. I didn't hear you. Say it again. Multiply coefficients. Get with me, people. Then you're going to add the exponents. So you underline the numbers, and it tells you to multiply them. So what is 4 times 3? Oh my gosh. Is that 12 again? I think so. Okay, now you have x to the power of 4 and x to the power of negative 6. So we're going to add these. Okay, if I put a little addition sign there, that means I am adding a negative 6 to 4. Now, is the 4 positive? Is it? Is it positive? Yes, it is. So you could put a little positive 4 there, and it's saying, look, I'm going to do a positive 4 and a negative 6. Are they different signs? They are. So you say different signs, subtract. Right. What's 6 take away 4? 6 take away 4, my people. It's 2. But what's the sign of the bigger number? I want you to circle it. It's negative. So this should be x to the negative 2. Oh my gosh. What could this answer be, my friends? Is it the same? Are you going to bring that negative down? Yes, you are. Negative and up, bring it down. What are you going to leave on top? Remember, you're going to leave a 12. So it's 12 divided by x to the power of, what is it? Not negative 2, positive 2. Okay? So again, the answer is 12 over x to the power of 2. All right. So let's take a look at one that's going to be a little bit different this time. Now, when you have 2 negatives and you're adding negatives, okay, this is not negative times negative is positive. A lot of people think that, right? There's still some confusion with that. When you're adding negatives, same signs, right? They're both negative, so you add and keep, right? Same signs, add and keep. And when you have 2 negatives and you're adding them, you say negative, negative, negative. What do you say? You say negative, 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 okay? Because your answer is going to be negative. So let's go ahead and look at these because they both have negative exponents, right? This is a negative 2 and a negative 1. But let's look at the coefficients first. What is 5 times 3? 5 times 3 is 15. Very good. Now we'll look at the exponents because we have to add them. Negative, negative, negative. So you're going to add them together. Same signs. 2 plus 1 is 3. But the answer is going to be not positive 3, okay? It's going to be negative 3, okay? Is that a negative exponent? So what are you going to do? Negative and up, bring it down. But what are you going to leave on top? Are you going to put a 1 there? Are you? No. I know you said yes. What will you put at the top? What's the coefficient, my friends? The coefficient is? The coefficient is 15, and you're going to keep that at the top. So you're going to say 15 divided by x to the power of, what happens to that negative 3? Does it become positive when you bring it down? Yes, it does, and that's why we bring it down. So when you simplify it, it's simply 15 divided by x cubed, or x to the power of 3. All right, last example. Do you see some invisible coefficients? Do you see anything that could be here? The invisible 1. The invisible what? The invisible 1. What about this one? The invisible 1, right? What is 1 times 1? And don't tell me it's 2. What is 1 times 1? 1 of itself is 1. Okay, so when you multiply 1 times 1, it's 1. Now, do we have the same signs, a negative 4 and a negative 3? Do we? Negative 4 and negative 3. Yes. We say same signs, add, and keep. Keep the negative. What's 4 plus 3? 4 plus 3 is? What's 4 plus 3? 7. But it's going to be negative 7 because that's a negative and that's a negative. When you add negatives, you get a negative 7. So, what's the coefficient here? The coefficient is 1. So, is the exponent negative? Yes. Are you going to bring it down? Negative and up, bring it down. So, the coefficient is going to be 1, just like it is normally. But now it's going to be x to the power of, not negative 7, it's going to be positive 7. So when you simplify, it would be 1 divided by x to the power of 7. Very good. Get that down. Okay, now we're going to do some examples. I want you to take a look at what you see, okay? The first two examples are going to have at least one negative, okay? So, for example 1, there's going to be a negative coefficient and also one negative exponent, okay? For those are in both examples. Now, in 3 and 4, you have both of the coefficients are negative, aren't they? And both of the exponents are negative, right? So, both coefficients are negative and both exponents. So, you know, when you multiply, you use Bob, right? And negative times a positive is negative, right? Okay. So let's start with this one. Negative 4x squared times 4x cubed. We're going to go ahead and multiply the coefficients. What's negative 4 times 4? Negative 4 times 4 is negative what? It's negative 16. Okay? Then you're going to get, you're going to add the exponents, put an addition sign between them. You have a positive 2 and a negative 3. Okay, so different signs, subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. What's the bigger number? Isn't the bigger number 3? So it has a negative. Okay, so 3 minus 2 is 1, but because it's negative, we're going to say x to the power of negative 1. Do you have to rewrite this exponent? Is that exponent negative? Yes. What are you going to keep on top? You're going to keep the coefficient on top. You're going to keep negative 16 at the top. Over, we're going to say x to the power of positive 1. So the answer is negative 16 over x, okay? Because x to the power of 1 is the same as x, isn't it? Isn't it? Yes, it is. Let's do this one. We're going to go ahead and underline the coefficients. The coefficients are 5 and negative 6. This is 5x to the 4th power times negative 6x to the negative 7th power. So first we ask ourselves, well, what is 5 times negative 6? Because you have to multiply coefficients first. What do you have to do first? Multiply coefficients. So you get, well, that's negative 30, isn't it? What is it? Negative 30. 5 times negative 6. Then you're going to do what? You're going to add exponents. You're going to do what? Add exponents. So you have a positive 4, okay? There's nothing in front of it, so it's positive. Positive 4, and you're trying to add a negative 7. So a positive 4 and a negative 7. Different signs subtract. So what is 7 take away 4? 7 take away 4? 7 minus 4 is 3. And the sign of the bigger number is negative. So we're going to say x to the power of negative what? Negative 3. Do you have to bring this down? Negative and up, move it down. Yes, you do. So you're going to keep what at the top? You're going to keep the coefficient at the top, which is negative 30 divided by, bring that down, it's going to be x to the power of not negative 3, positive 3. So you'll rewrite that as negative 30 divided by x to the power of 3. Okay? Let's do 2 more examples. Now, when you have negative 2x to the negative 3 times negative 3x to the negative 2, that's a lot of negatives. Just underline the coefficients, okay? Write that down. Make sure you get that. Okay. What's negative 2 times negative 3? Negative times negative. When you're multiplying, it's positive. So you're going to get 6. Okay. Now, let's add these negatives together. Remember, same signs, right? Negative 3 and negative 2. Same signs add and keep the negative. Negative, negative, negative. So it'll be x to the power of what? Negative, what's 2 plus 3? 5. Is that exponent negative? So you're going to bring it down. Very good. You'll bring it down. What will you keep at the top? What goes at the top? What goes at the top? I'm going to underline it. What goes at the top? America. What goes here? 6. Divided by, now we're going to bring that exponent down, so it'll be x to the power of positive 5. So it'll be 6 divided by x to the power of 5. All right. Let's try one more. Now, aren't these easy? Yes, they are. But do you see something invisible here? There's a little negative. What goes next to it? Negative 1. Good job. So this is negative 7x to the power of negative 1 times negative 1x to the power of negative 1. So we've got 2 negatives here. When you're multiplying negative times negative, it's positive. But when you're adding negative and negative, it's negative. Does that make sense? Okay, adding negatives, same signs, add and keep. Multiplying negatives, negative times negative when they touch is positive. So you have a negative 7 times a negative 1. Who knows what that is? Negative 7 times negative 1. Miguel, what is it? Miguel, give it to me. Negative 7 times negative 1. Positive what? Positive 7. That is correct. Okay, so you have 7. And then we're going to add these negatives together, okay? Negative 1 and negative 1, which is 1 plus 1. So it's x to the power of, is it positive or negative? It's negative 2, remember? Negative, negative, negative. All right, you have an exponent that's negative. Are you going to bring it down? Yes, you are. Negative and up, move it down. What goes at the top of that fraction? Is it 1? No. What is it now? What's the coefficient? It's 7. So you can say, like, 7 divided by, we break it down, x to the power of 2. So the answer is 7 over x to the power of 2. All right, good job, guys. Go ahead and get that down. Okay,